The Mediterranean sun rises like a furnace door opening over the coast of Sicily. The air is already thick, 90 degrees before 7 in the morning, and the smell of cordite, seawater, and burning diesel hangs over the invasion beaches. The thunder of naval guns from the cruisers USS Boise and HMS Orion pounds the coastal defenses. Explosions ripple across the dunes. The sand is churned into glass by the shelling. Men of the U.S. 1st Infantry Division, the Big Red One, wade through chest-deep water from their LCVP Higgins boats. They carry M1 Garand rifles above their heads. Some stumble, some fall. The water around them turns pink. Machine gun fire from Italian pillboxes rakes the surf. Mortar rounds land in clusters, throwing up geysers of sand and seawater. This is Operation Husky, the invasion of Sicily, the first major amphibious assault on Axis-held Europe. And it is chaos. July 10th, 1943, the beaches of Sicily. 160,000 Allied soldiers storm ashore in the largest amphibious operation the world has ever seen. The objective is clear: capture the island, crush the Axis hold on the Mediterranean, and open the road to mainland Europe. But for one American general, this invasion is not about strategy. It is about insult. Lieutenant General George Smith Patton, Jr. stands over the operations map in a canvas tent at 7th Army headquarters near Gela. He wears a lacquered helmet liner, polished leather boots, and a tailored uniform despite the heat. On his hips, a Colt 45 single-action Army revolver on his right hip, and a Smith & Wesson .357 Magnum on his left, both with ivory handles. Not pearl, ivory. Patton once said, "Only a pimp from a cheap New Orleans whorehouse would carry a pearl-handled pistol." He stares at the map with the intensity of a man who has been insulted to his core. The plan for Operation Husky is simple, at least on paper. The British 8th Army under General Bernard Montgomery will land on the southeastern tip of Sicily and drive north along the coastal road to Messina, the island's strategic prize. Messina sits at the narrowest point of the Strait of Messina, just 2 miles from mainland Italy. Whoever holds Messina controls the gateway to Europe. Patton's U.S. 7th Army, by contrast, has been assigned a supporting role. His forces will land to the west of Montgomery and secure the left flank. Guard the British advance. Protect the airfields. Mop up Italian resistance. In other words, stay out of the way. Patton reads the orders again. His jaw tightens. His staff officers watch nervously. To George Patton, this is not a strategy. It is an insult. Montgomery, the cautious, methodical British general who moves at the pace of a funeral procession, gets the glory road. Patton, the most aggressive armor commander in the United States Army, is told to sit on his hands and play nursemaid to the British flank. It is intolerable. Patton believes, with the fervor of a religious zealot, that the American soldier is superior to any fighting man on earth. He has spent his entire career studying warfare, from the ancient campaigns of Alexander and Hannibal to Napoleon and Stonewall Jackson. He has read every major military text ever written. He believes he was born to command armies, that he has lived past lives as a warrior, that destiny itself has placed him on this island. And now he is being told to follow behind the British like a pack mule. He turns to his deputy, Major General Jeffrey Keyes, and says, "We're not guarding anyone's flank. We're taking this island." But Patton is not the only commander studying the map of Sicily that July. Across the island, in the command bunkers of the Axis forces, German officers are making their own calculations. Field Marshal Albert Kesselring, the commander of German forces in the Mediterranean, is a Luftwaffe officer, a pilot by training, but a strategist by necessity. He knows the Allies are coming. The question is, can Sicily be held? Kesselring's strategy is simple. Delay the Allies as long as possible, bleed them in the mountains, and if necessary, evacuate the German forces across the Strait of Messina to fight another day. He does not expect to hold Sicily forever. He expects to make the Allies pay for every mile. And he expects the British to lead the assault. Montgomery is predictable. Methodical. He advances slowly, consolidates his positions, and never takes unnecessary risks. Kesselring can plan for that. What Kesselring does not expect is George Patton. In the first days of the invasion, the Allied plan proceeds as expected. Montgomery's 8th Army pushes north from the beaches near Syracuse. Progress is slow. The German defenders blow bridges, mine roads, and set up deadly ambushes in the narrow mountain passes. Every mile costs blood. Patton's 7th Army, meanwhile, secures the western beaches. The 1st Infantry Division repels a German counterattack by the Hermann Göring Division near Gela. It is a brutal, close-quarters fight. German armor rolls toward the beaches, intent on driving the Americans back into the sea. And not just any armor. The Hermann Göring Division brings 56-ton Tiger I heavy tanks, their 88mm main guns capable of destroying any American tank at over a mile. Alongside them, Panzer Mark IV medium tanks grind forward through the sand. American infantry, armed with bazookas and 75mm pack howitzers, engage the German armor at suicidal range. The bazookas are nearly useless against the Tiger's frontal armor. The German tanks roll forward, machine guns blazing, crushing defensive positions. But the Americans refuse to break. Naval gunfire from offshore destroyers rains down on the German armor. 5-inch naval shells, each weighing 54 pounds, slam into the Tigers and Panzer IVs. The concussive force flips turrets, breaks tracks, and incinerates crews. American artillery crews fire their pack howitzers over open sights, point blank, aiming at the thinner side and rear armor of the Tigers. It is desperate, it is brutal, and it works. The counterattack collapses, but the situation in Sicily is deteriorating rapidly for the Axis. The Italian coastal defense units are surrendering en masse. The German forces, spread thin and fighting on multiple fronts, are being pushed back. Kesselring needs a commander on the ground, someone who can stabilize the front and organize a fighting withdrawal. Days after the invasion begins, the German High Command dispatches General Hans Valentin Hube to Sicily. Hube is a brutal, one-armed veteran of the Eastern Front, a commander who has survived the hell of the Russian winter and emerged harder than steel. He takes command of the 14th Panzer Corps, which includes the Hermann Göring Panzer Division and the 15th Panzer Grenadier Division. Both are under strength, battered from fighting in North Africa. But they are German units, and that means they are disciplined, experienced, and lethal. Hube's mission is clear. Delay the Allies as long as possible, inflict maximum casualties, and when the time comes, evacuate his forces across the Strait of Messina. He does not intend to win. He intends to make the Allies bleed for every mile. But stopping a German counterattack is not enough for Patton. He does not want to defend. He wants to attack. On July 12th, Patton receives new orders from General Sir Harold Alexander, the overall Allied ground commander. Alexander, a cautious British officer, issues a vague directive. Patton is authorized to advance north and west to secure airfields and cut the island in half. Patton reads the order carefully. It does not explicitly say he cannot capture Palermo, the ancient capital of Sicily, located on the northwestern coast. It does not say he must stop. It does not say he must wait for Montgomery. It is a loophole. And Patton drives a tank corps through it. July 15th, 1943. Patton issues his own orders. The U.S. 7th Army will pivot west and race across Sicily to capture Palermo. He assigns the mission to Major General Lucien Truscott's 3rd Infantry Division and Major General Hugh Gaffey's 2nd Armored Division, known as Hell on Wheels. The plan is audacious. While Montgomery grinds forward in the east, Patton will sweep across the western half of the island in a lightning campaign. He will capture Palermo, Sicily's largest city, and seize control of the western ports. Then, and only then, will he turn east toward Messina. It is a gamble. It diverts resources away from supporting Montgomery. It risks splitting the 7th Army's strength, and it is not what Alexander intended. But Patton does not care. He is not interested in following orders. He is interested in winning. The advance begins at dawn. The 3rd Infantry Division moves out on foot, marching west along Route 115. The men are already exhausted from the invasion, but Patton drives them forward. 20 miles a day. 30. The heat is monstrous. Men collapse from heat stroke. Medics drag them into the shade, pour water over their heads, and send them back into the column. Behind the infantry, the tanks of the 2nd Armored Division grind forward. M4 Sherman tanks, 33 tons of steel and fury, equipped with 75mm main guns. The tanks kick up enormous clouds of dust that hang in the air like a brown fog. The dust coats everything. It fills the lungs, grinds into the teeth, clogs the engine filters. Crews stop every few hours to clean the air intakes and change the filters. If they don't, the engines overheat and seize. The terrain is brutal. The roads are narrow, winding mountain tracks built by the Romans 2,000 years ago and barely improved since. The bridges are ancient stone arches, many of them too weak to support the weight of a Sherman tank. Engineers must find alternate routes, ford rivers, or build makeshift crossings. And yet, the Americans advance. The Italian defenders are caught completely off guard. Most of the Italian units in western Sicily are second-line coastal defense battalions, poorly equipped and poorly led. Many of them are Sicilian conscripts who have no desire to die for Mussolini's empire. When American tanks appear on the horizon, entire Italian battalions surrender without firing a shot. At one point, a battalion of Italian infantry, complete with officers, flags, and a regimental band, marches down the road to formally surrender to the advancing Americans. They are smiling. They shake hands with the GIs. They offer wine and cheese. The war, for them, is over. But not all resistance crumbles so easily. Scattered German units, acting as liaisons to the Italian forces, fight back with characteristic ferocity. German snipers set up in the hills and pick off American officers. German machine gun crews dig in at crossroads and force the Americans to deploy artillery and call in airstrikes. German engineers blow bridges just as American armor approaches, forcing delays. But they cannot stop the momentum. Truscott's 3rd Infantry Division is relentless. The men march through the night, guided by moonlight and sheer determination. Officers ride jeeps up and down the column, shouting encouragement. "Keep moving! Keep moving!" The infantry is followed by supply trucks carrying water, ammunition, and rations. The logistics are stretched to the breaking point, but they hold. On July 22nd, just 12 days after the invasion, American forces enter Palermo. The ancient city of Palermo, founded by the Phoenicians in 734 BC, has seen conquerors before. The Romans, the Vandals, the Byzantines, the Arabs, the Normans, the Spanish, and now the Americans. General Patton enters the city in a convoy of jeeps, flanked by military police motorcycles. He rides standing up, one hand on the windshield, the other resting on the ivory-handled revolver at his right hip. His uniform is immaculate. His helmet gleams. He looks like a Roman general entering Carthage. The streets are lined with Sicilian civilians. Some wave American flags. Some cheer. Some simply stare, exhausted by years of war, occupation, and poverty. Buildings are pockmarked with bullet holes. Some are still smoldering from the fighting. But the city is intact. And it is American. Patton establishes his headquarters in the Royal Palace, a sprawling Norman fortress overlooking the harbor. He stands on the balcony, looking out over the city, and allows himself a rare smile. He has done what no one thought possible. He has captured an entire half of Sicily in less than 2 weeks. He has taken a city of 300,000 people, and he has done it without asking permission. In Berlin, Hitler is furious. In Rome, Mussolini is panicking. In London, Churchill is stunned. In his headquarters, Field Marshal Kesselring is baffled. Who is this American general? Where did he come from? And how did he move so fast? But Patton is not finished. Palermo is a prize, but it is not the objective. The objective is Messina, and Messina lies 150 miles to the east through some of the most brutal terrain in Europe. And Montgomery is still in the race. The rivalry between Patton and Montgomery is personal, professional, and deeply bitter. Montgomery, knighted by the king, victor of El Alamein, is the most famous British general of the war. He is cautious, methodical, and utterly convinced of his own brilliance. He refers to Patton as that cowboy, and dismisses American soldiers as undisciplined and inexperienced. Patton, for his part, despises Montgomery. He sees him as a pompous, slow-moving relic who wins battles through overwhelming firepower and careful planning, not through audacity and maneuver. Patton believes that Montgomery's caution costs lives and prolongs wars. Now, both men are racing for the same objective, and Patton is determined to get there first. From Palermo, Patton issues new orders. The 7th Army will turn east and advance along the northern coast of Sicily toward Messina. Route 113 hugs the coastline, winding through fishing villages and mountain passes. It is a single-lane road, barely wide enough for 2 trucks to pass, and it is the only route. Patton assigns the mission to the 45th Infantry Division under Major General Troy Middleton, reinforced by elements of the 3rd Infantry Division. Behind them, the tanks of the 2nd Armored Division will provide fire support. The advance begins on July 23rd, and immediately, everything changes. The terrain of western Sicily is open, rolling farmland punctuated by low hills. It is tank country. But the terrain of northeastern Sicily is something else entirely. It is a nightmare. The Nebrodi and Pelleritani mountains rise sharply from the coast, jagged peaks of limestone and volcanic rock that reach 5,000 feet. The roads are narrow, winding tracks carved into the mountainside, with sheer cliffs on one side and vertical rock faces on the other. There are no detours. There are no alternate routes. There is only the road. And the Germans are waiting. General Huba has withdrawn his forces from western Sicily and concentrated them in the northeast. He has no intention of defending the entire island. His mission is to delay the Allies, inflict maximum casualties, and evacuate his forces across the Strait of Messina when the time comes. He has chosen his ground well. Every curve in the road is a potential kill zone. Every bridge is a choke point. Every village is a fortress. Hube's commanders are masters of defensive warfare. They blow bridges, mine roads, and dig anti-tank ditches. They position 88mm anti-tank guns on high ground where they can fire down on American armor. They place machine gun nests in stone farmhouses with interlocking fields of fire. They zero in their artillery on every approach route. And they wait. The American advance slows to a crawl. Every mile is bought with blood. On July 24th, the 45th Infantry Division approaches the town of Santo Stefano di Camastra. The road narrows to a single lane, hemmed in by the sea on one side and a cliff face on the other. As the lead American units round a curve, German artillery opens fire. The shells come screaming down from the mountains, 105mm howitzers. The explosions are deafening. Trucks are blown off the road and tumble into the sea. Men dive for cover, pressing themselves into the dirt. Medics sprint forward, dragging wounded soldiers to safety. The Americans call in counter-battery fire, but the German guns are dug into reverse slopes, invisible from the air. American fighter bombers strafe the hillsides, but the Germans are hidden in caves and bunkers. The infantry must advance on foot, climbing the rocky slopes under fire, clearing each German position one at a time. It is brutal, close-quarters combat. Grenades, bayonets, flamethrowers. The fighting is savage. It takes 2 days to advance 5 miles. The heat is unbearable. Daytime temperatures exceed 100 degrees. The sun beats down on the men like a hammer. There is no shade, no relief. The troops march with their canteens strapped to their belts, rationing every swallow. Water discipline is critical. Men who drink too fast collapse from cramps. Malaria is an unseen enemy. Mosquitoes swarm in the evening. Thousands of American soldiers fall ill with fever, chills, and delirium. Field hospitals fill with patients who never saw combat. And the dust. The choking, omnipresent dust. Every vehicle that passes kicks up a cloud that hangs in the still air. The men march through it, breathing through handkerchiefs tied over their faces. Their uniforms are caked with it. Their eyes are red and swollen. But they keep moving. On July 30th, the 1st Infantry Division reaches the town of Troina, a medieval fortress town perched on a mountain peak 3,700 feet above sea level. It is the highest town in Sicily, and it is held by the German 15th Panzergrenadier Division. The Battle of Troina will become one of the bloodiest engagements of the Sicilian campaign. The Germans have turned the town into a fortress. Every stone building is a strong point. Every alley is covered by machine gun fire. The approaches to the town are mined and ranged by artillery. The Germans have clear lines of sight in every direction. They can see the Americans coming from miles away. The Americans attack on August 1st. Artillery pounds the town for hours. Fighter bombers drop 500-pound bombs on suspected German positions. And then the infantry goes in. The 1st Infantry Division, the Big Red One, advances up the rocky slopes under withering fire. German machine guns rake the hillsides. American soldiers fall by the dozen. Medics crawl forward under fire to drag the wounded to cover. Squads of infantry work their way up the mountainside, using rocks and scrub brush for concealment, grenades to clear bunkers, and rifle fire to suppress German positions. It is slow. It is agonizing. It is a meat grinder. For 6 days, the battle rages. The Germans counterattack repeatedly, using the high ground to their advantage. American artillery fires over open sights, blasting German positions at point-blank range. Tanks try to support the infantry, but the roads are too narrow, the slopes too steep. On August 6th, after 6 days of continuous fighting, the Germans withdraw. They have inflicted heavy casualties. They have bought time for the evacuation at Messina, and they have shown the Americans that victory in Sicily will not come cheap. The 1st Infantry Division occupies the ruins of Troina. The town is destroyed. Bodies lie in the streets. The smell is overwhelming. But the road to Messina is open. August 7th, 1943. Patton stands on a hilltop overlooking the coastal road, binoculars pressed to his eyes. In the distance, he can see the Strait of Messina, shimmering in the heat haze. So close. But Montgomery is moving up the eastern coast, and the race is not over. Patton is bleeding his army in the mountains. Every mile costs casualties. Every blown bridge costs hours. The Germans are withdrawing slowly, fighting delaying actions at every crossroads, and Patton knows that if he continues the frontal assault, Montgomery will reach Messina first. He cannot allow that to happen. And so, Patton makes a decision that will baffle his enemies and terrify his own staff. He will bypass the German mountain defenses entirely. He will use the sea. The concept is simple, but extraordinarily risky. American forces will load onto landing craft, sail east along the coast under cover of darkness, and conduct amphibious assaults behind German lines. They will land on beaches in the German rear, cut the coastal road, and force the enemy to withdraw or be encircled. It is a maneuver that requires perfect coordination between the Navy and the Army. It requires accurate intelligence on German positions. It requires calm seas, cooperative weather, and a great deal of luck. Patton orders 3 amphibious end runs. The first, on August 8th, lands a battalion of the 3rd Infantry Division near the town of Sant'Agata di Militello. The landing is unopposed. The Germans, caught completely off guard, withdraw to avoid encirclement. The Americans advance 10 miles in a single night. Kesselring, monitoring the situation from his headquarters in Rome, is stunned. This is not how the British fight. This is not how any European army fights. Who conducts amphibious assaults as a tactical maneuver? The logistics alone should make it impossible. But Patton is not finished. The second amphibious assault, on August 11th, is larger and more ambitious. A reinforced infantry battalion, supported by tanks and artillery, lands near Brolo, 15 miles behind German lines. The objective is to cut the coastal road and trap the German rearguard. The landing begins at 0200 hours. The night is moonless. The sea is calm. The LCVP landing craft approach the beach in darkness, engines throttled low to avoid detection. The first wave hits the beach without opposition. Troops scramble ashore, M1 Garens at the ready. Engineers drag ashore 75mm pack howitzers. Within 30 minutes, the entire battalion is ashore. But the Germans react quickly. At dawn, German reconnaissance units discover the American landing force. Within hours, the 29th Panzer Grenadier Division launches a counterattack. German infantry, supported by Panzer Mark IV tanks, assault the American beachhead from the south. At the same time, German forces trapped to the west launch their own attack, trying to break through the American roadblock. The Americans are caught in a vice. The fighting is desperate. American infantry dig shallow foxholes in the sand and rocky soil. They have no room to maneuver, no cover, and no retreat. Naval gunfire from offshore destroyers pounds the German positions, but it is not enough. German tanks push forward, machine guns blazing. One Sherman tank, landed with the assault force, duels with two German Panzer IVs at point-blank range. An American tank commander fires 3 rounds, destroying one Panzer and disabling the other. His own tank takes a hit to the turret, but remains operational. American infantry hold the line with bazookas, rifle grenades, and sheer determination. Casualties mount. The battalion commander calls for air support. Within 30 minutes, P-40 Warhawks from the 57th Fighter Group arrive overhead, strafing and bombing German positions. The German counterattack stalls. The road remains cut. By the evening of August 12th, the main body of the 3rd Infantry Division, advancing from the west, links up with the Brolo beachhead. The Germans withdraw once again. The amphibious end run has worked, but the cost is high. The battalion at Brolo suffers 177 casualties, including 31 killed. The wounded are evacuated by landing craft under fire. The dead are buried in a makeshift cemetery overlooking the sea. Patton visits the beachhead the next day. He walks among the wounded, shakes hands, pins medals. He does not apologize. He does not express regret. In his mind, casualties are the price of victory. Hesitation costs more lives than aggression. It is a philosophy born of his study of ancient warfare. The Romans conquered Sicily by attacking relentlessly, by taking risks, by refusing to yield the initiative. Hannibal crossed the Alps because he believed audacity was the ultimate weapon. Patton believes the same. But his staff is shaken. His division commanders are exhausted, and the men in the ranks are reaching their breaking point. Yet Patton will not slow down, because Montgomery is still in the race. On the eastern side of Sicily, Montgomery's 8th Army grinds forward. The British advance is methodical, supported by overwhelming artillery and air power. But it is slow. The Germans blow every bridge, mine every road, and fight from prepared positions. Montgomery's lead division, the 51st Highland Division, is bogged down south of Messina. Progress is measured in yards, not miles. Patton sees his opportunity. One final amphibious assault will cut the road ahead of Montgomery and open the door to Messina. He orders a 3rd landing for the night of August 15th. This time, the landing force includes elements of the 3rd Infantry Division, specifically the 157th Infantry Regiment, along with a company of Sherman tanks. The objective is the area near Spatafora, just miles from Messina. The landing is executed flawlessly. No German opposition. The coastal road is cut. The Germans, now facing encirclement from 3 sides, begin a general withdrawal toward the Strait of Messina. The race is nearly over. August 17, 1943. Dawn breaks over the Strait of Messina. The city of Messina, battered by weeks of Allied bombing, lies in ruins. Smoke rises from collapsed buildings. The harbor is choked with sunken ships. The streets are deserted. The Germans are gone. Over the past week, the German and Italian forces have conducted a masterful evacuation, ferrying over 100,000 troops, 10,000 vehicles, and countless tons of equipment across the strait to mainland Italy. They have used every available ferry, barge, and boat. They have operated under constant Allied air attack, but they have succeeded. Sicily is lost. But the German army has escaped to fight another day. And now, 2 Allied armies race for the empty city. At 0630 hours, a reconnaissance patrol from the U.S. 3rd Infantry Division enters the outskirts of Messina. They encounter no resistance. The streets are silent. The patrol radios back. "Messina is ours." 30 minutes later, General George Patton arrives. He rides into the city in a jeep, flanked by his staff officers and a company of military police. He wears his polished helmet, his tailored uniform, and his ivory-handled revolvers. The Colt 45 single-action Army on his right hip, the Smith & Wesson 357 Magnum on his left. He stands in the jeep as it rolls through the ruined streets, surveying the devastation with the calm satisfaction of a man who has won a very personal war. He orders his driver to stop in the Piazza del Duomo, the main square. The cathedral is still standing, though its roof is partially collapsed. Patton steps out of the jeep and waits. 2 hours later, the distant rumble of engines echoes through the narrow streets. A patrol of British tanks clatters into the square, tracks grinding over the rubble-strewn pavement. They are battered, dust-covered machines from the 4th Armored Brigade, the vanguard of Montgomery's 8th Army. The lead tank commander's hatch opens, and Brigadier J.C. Currie steps down. He is covered in road dust, his uniform stained with sweat and grime.
The flank is exposed here. We advance now.
He surveys the square and sees Patton standing
out,
there,
men. Let's go.
arms crossed, a faint smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Currie approaches, salutes. Patton returns the salute, then looks at the British officer and delivers his response. The words that will echo through military history. "What in hell took you so long?" The rivalry is not spoken aloud beyond that, but it is understood. Patton has
Hold him
won.
steady.
The
It
capture
hurts.
of Sicily
I've got it.
is
Almost
complete.
done.
In 38 days, the Allies
All
have
right, move
conquered
it.
an
To
island
the truck.
defended by over
Yes, sir.
300,000
Easy
Axis
now. Slide
troops.
him in.
The Italian forces have been shattered. The German forces have been bloodied and forced to evacuate. The road to mainland Italy is open. For the United States Army, the campaign is a triumph. American forces have proven themselves in combat against a determined enemy. They have demonstrated mobility, firepower, and the ability to conduct complex combined arms operations. And George Patton has proven something else: that the American way of war is built on speed, aggression, and audacity. That hesitation is more dangerous than risk. That the will to attack is the ultimate weapon. But the cost has been high. The U.S. 7th Army has suffered over 7,300 casualties, including over 2,000 killed. The 1st Infantry Division, the 3rd Infantry Division, and the 45th Infantry Division have been battered by weeks of continuous combat. The men are exhausted, sick, and haunted by what they have seen. And Patton, for all his brilliance, is about to pay a personal price. On August 3rd, during the Battle of Troina, Patton visited an evacuation hospital. He walked through the wards, speaking to the wounded,
The line
offering
holds here.
encouragement.
Flank them. Yes, sir.
But when he
Tanks are
encountered
moving.
a soldier
Infantry
suffering
support
from
is ready.
combat fatigue, shell shock,
Dismissed.
what would later be
Yes,
called
sir.
post-traumatic stress disorder, Patton lost his temper. He slapped the soldier. He called him a coward. He ordered him back to the front. It happened again on August 10th at another field hospital. Another soldier suffering from psychological trauma. Another outburst. Another slap. Word of the incidents spread through the
Pulse
ranks.
is weak. We need fluids.
Some soldiers defended
the kit.
Patton,
will
arguing
help
that
with
his
the pain.
harsh discipline
Thank you,
kept
Doc.
units from disintegrating under stress.
Easy now. Bring him up.
Others were appalled.
Steady. Lift on 3. Got
Reporters
it. Moving.
traveling
In
with
position.
the 7th Army
Slide
heard
it.
the stories, but, at the request of General Eisenhower, did not publish them. But the damage was done. Patton's career hung by a thread. George Patton believed in the warrior ethos of ancient Rome. He believed that fear was a weakness to be conquered, that duty outweighed suffering, and that a commander must be harder than his men. He had no patience for what he saw as weakness, even though the medical understanding of psychological trauma in 1943 was virtually non-existent. In his mind, he was upholding a standard. In reality, he was out of step with the evolving understanding of the human cost of war. Eisenhower reprimanded Patton privately, but did not relieve him of command. The slapping incidents would become public months later, nearly ending Patton's career. But for now, in the summer of 1943, Patton was untouchable. He had conquered Sicily. Field Marshal Albert Kesselring, in his post-war memoirs, wrote of the Sicilian campaign with grudging respect. He noted that the American forces displayed unexpected speed and tactical flexibility. He singled out Patton's amphibious end runs as a maneuver he had never anticipated. "We expected the British to advance methodically," Kesselring wrote. "We did not expect the Americans to attack everywhere at once." General Hans Valentin Hube, the one-armed veteran of the Eastern Front, was more blunt.
The American general fought like a man possessed, he said. Agreed.
We could not predict him. We could not slow him. We could only retreat. In Berlin, Hitler raged at the loss of Sicily, but quietly admired the audacity of the American thrust to Palermo. In Rome, Mussolini's government teetered on the brink of collapse. Within weeks, Mussolini would be deposed, arrested, and Italy would sign an armistice with the Allies. The war was far from over. The invasion of mainland Italy would be a grinding, bloody affair that would last until 1945. But Sicily was the beginning, and Patton had set the tone. In the ruins of Messina, George Patton stood on the steps of the cathedral and looked across the strait toward the mountains of Calabria. Somewhere over there, the Germans were digging in, preparing for the next fight, and Patton wanted to be the one to lead it. But his moment in Sicily was over. He had disobeyed orders, alienated his superiors, and infuriated his allies. He had also captured an entire country in 38 days and beaten the British to the finish line. History would judge him harshly for the slapping incidents. But history would also remember that when the United States Army needed a general who could win quickly, decisively, and without hesitation, they called on George Patton. He was not a perfect man. He was arrogant, ruthless, and uncompromising. But he was a warrior in the ancient sense of the word. He believed that war was not a science, but an art, and that the artist must be willing to break the rules to create a masterpiece. In Sicily, in the summer of 1943, surrounded by the ghosts of Hannibal and Caesar and all the conquerors who had fought on that blood-soaked island, George Patton proved that he belonged among them. He had captured a country, and in doing so, he had ensured that the American army would never again be relegated to a supporting role.